Hello.
Let's see. I always have to do so much to get this stuff to work. Why doesn't computers just work? Hey, there I am.
Now it works.
Now it works.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning, or afternoon, or whatever it is.
In my time zone, it's evening. Almost.
Morning somewhere, right? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
So tomorrow our talk at KubeCon China will be online.
Right. Cool. We'll be in China then. Better start
We
moving.
will be in China, yes.
Better hurry up. It's there's a little ways to go.
But it's very early in the morning in our time zone.
Yeah, the couple of times where I spoke at like in like Indian conferences and stuff like that, I just try to make sure that they know which time zone I'm actually in, because that could get really early if they schedule me at the wrong part of the evening for them.
So tomorrow the talk will be at 5 a.m. in the morning.
We're really early on. Yeah, it's fair. Christ, having dogs is worse than having children. No matter how old they get, they never still understand what's going on. Går det bra nå? Fint.
But is this a young dog or is he a bit older?
She is 7
Okay.
in February, but she's still as stupid as she was in she was 3. So yeah, she always have to be bothering me when I'm doing meetings. So we started having like lockdowns again, which is no fun. So I haven't been to the office for a week. So she keeps on bothering me in all these meetings. But yeah. All right.
Guess we can give it another couple minutes, just in case folks.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
Was there a Slack reminder set up, right? Did that work? Did that trigger? I can't find Slack.
Oh yeah,
Slack.
it sure
Yes,
did.
It just triggered.
Oh,
Nice.
I meant to do that.
Yeah, no, we had the manual Slack trigger.
Yeah.
This morning. I posted in there.
Good. Thomas, does this meeting automatically start recording when people comes in? Because it's been doing that. Yeah. Hello. Good.
Yes, so the only thing which is quite a bit difficult at the moment is that we have to upload the meetings manually to YouTube afterwards, but I'll take care of that. And I also uploaded your last recordings to YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
Do we have instructions somewhere? Maybe just like how to do that? Is this CNCF?
I think you need to have access, right? And then
Yes.
that's
Access is the big problem.
Yeah, access is always a problem.
Furthermore, we also added your working group meetings to the community page.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really good.
So we'll discuss if the working group chairs will be able to add events and so on.
Well, for now, as long as like it's on a repeatable schedule, like it is, then you know that works out fine, unless we're going to have something extraordinary. But at that point, you know, just make sure we're early in asking people to add. Because it's not just, you know, it's you as well. You can also add stuff. So all the tag.
All the GIS and tech leads can, yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, then there's, you know, plenty of people to do that. So in worst case scenario, we just, you know, put in an issue and ask.
So also if you want to have some meeting removed or whatever, just feel free to reach out and we'll take care of that.
Yeah. Okay, so should we, it's a few minutes past the hour. Should we go ahead and kick things off?
Sure.
So, yeah, I guess where to start. The agenda, from just reviewing briefly, last time we met, which was 3 weeks ago, we talked about the survey, we talked about patterns library, and we talked about infrastructure models. Robert was off working on survey stuff and some others too. I just was glancing at this morning. He'll start us off today. The pattern stuff, I submitted a couple issues. I don't plan to talk about it today unless people want to. And then the resource model stuff, I haven't tackled yet. Just in the interest of time, I'll get to that eventually.
We could talk about patterns as well, because I have an idea, and I'll just want to see if we're doing it right. Let's see if we're doing it right. But yeah, we can talk about the survey goals, and there's no reason to even mention me, because it's Rain all the way. So Rain's doing a great job at filling out this form, the document here. So kudos to you. I see people are starting to comment on stuff as well, or at least we had someone comment, but it was in.
It's probably me just writing comments as I work with a document.
But we had one comment in a language. What language?
Yeah, my colleague was reviewing the document and didn't know that it's visible to the public, so he used Estonian to comment and cleaned it up afterwards and shared the comments with me.
Yeah. So it was just it was a bit funny. Also, there was a lot of I had to try to Google translate it, but I didn't want that to be my interpretation of the text. So. But obviously then I guess Erki or Erki. I guess he then, you know, sent that to you, and you got that. But yeah, if the people in the chat, if they're in the meeting, if you don't have that document, here's the link to that document, just in case. And we can just start at the top, I guess, because we wanted to do a survey for many reasons, but we didn't really have a really good like definite goal for everything. And like I said, Rain here has been doing a lot of filler work based on what we talked about last time, and you have written out a couple of goals. Do you want to go through them, or should we just?
I'll share the screen if I can. Yeah, I think I can, and then I go through it. Actually, it's two documents in one. I have not touched the bits that I think Josh added last time. These are the initial goals, questions, audience, and data. The bits that I've been working on start from the motivation. Right. Cool. They repeat some of the ideas that Josh added, and so it's good to see that we are thinking in the same similar direction. So I tried to write out the motivation why we are planning to run the survey. And if I'll refer back to what Josh wrote here under the goals, I think one of the outcomes is is to actually gather the ideas or build the agenda for the working group. What are the problems that people are facing? What are the challenges that the working group should be focusing on? Or if we have if you feel that something is important, is this actually the problem that the people are facing? So I think what we should do. The second bit I wanted to mention is I tried to pick up the hypothesis from the workgroup charter. I think these are the things that we feel that are valid, but I'm not sure if they have been validated or if there is any data behind it. So these questions, like the disconnect between application and infrastructure delivery is causing problems. How painful are these problems? Is it worth dealing with these? What example of these problems are there? Something that are segment specific? And I think this is the most valuable bit. If we can come up of the list of the problems that we think are relevant, we should try to validate these problems so that we could get feedback. What are the things that people relate to, and we should leave an open answer so that people can add to these. But yeah, I hope that I can do more, but it's at least it's a start. Also for the segmentation, I used the categories that were present in a DevOps report in 2019, just to get us started. So we can do at least initial segmentation with the results later.
Yeah, I think it's a good, like at least like it's a good place to start. If I was just trying to summarize a lot of industries, I'm probably going to miss most of the industries in the world. So why not copy what everyone else is doing? No, but I think it's a really good starting point, and I like the that we're trying to think of like the motivation, because I think many of us are in agreement with what the motivation or why we want to do a survey, but it's kind of hard to put into words sometimes. That makes sense, and you actually have some sort of outcome. But I think we're getting there. I don't think this should be too rushed, because we have things that we can do, like for instance document patterns and try to help in like that aspect, so that we don't just get the survey out there just to do it, and then the data is not useful because we didn't think it through. So I think it's better that we spend a little bit of time on doing exactly this, trying to figure like directly out what we actually want to do here. So but this is a really great start, and thank you, Rain, and also thank you, Josh, for spending time on getting stuff in here.
Are we kind of getting to a bit of a consensus around these goals, and then maybe we can start thinking about, okay, what are the questions we should ask to meet those goals?
We can. I think we can at least like it doesn't have to be one goal, right? So it's gonna be hard to word one goal that would fit the entire survey, but at least kind of ballpark a couple of goals, like what do we want to get out of it, and perhaps at least like a working draft of what our goals are. And I think trying to figure out what people are doing, or if it's even valuable for people to try to use the same approach both for app delivery and infrastructure. Like, do people want that, or do people want separation in maybe that differs from sector to sector, et cetera, things like that. So we have something to work on when it comes to patterns and other helpful things. I don't want to say white paper because every time I do, I feel like people are kind of like, oh.
These last, I'm looking through like, Rain, your last 2 pages map the state of the art and discuss, like, that seems like you're starting to, okay, these are specific details. Now we can form a question that would tell us if people might answer in a way that says, oh, the organization does have transfer problems. Like, it feels like we're getting close to that down there.
If you move up a bit to the motivation, I've put a part of the sentence to italic there. I think this is the core. I think the core reason to run the survey is to make sure that the working group is focusing on the right thing. So you described it through the problems. We want to understand what the problems are, but it pretty much comes down to the same idea that we want to know what the problems are so that we are focusing on the right thing. And the second part is when we are trying to have an impact on the community or change something, we should be monitoring what the current state of the art. And if we repeat the survey, try to figure out or validate new problems, we can constantly monitor how the state of the art is changing. So make sure that we are dealing with right problems and monitor the landscape, pretty much.
Yeah. But everything is moving here, right? So every year there's going to be something new that might be the way that everything, is gonna, like, this is the direction up until when the new year comes and we move in a different direction. That's IT. But yeah, I think that's valuable, at least to see, at least like map out like where stuff is going. So yeah, like I said, it's a really good starting point, and thanks for doing all this work. Really awesome. Is there anything that we?
I just want to throw one more thing. That idea of like continuous insight, maybe like that. I love that. Like maybe there's a way to just have a permanent form. Like, hey, you want to give feedback to us? We have a set of 5 questions here. It could be open forever.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of the survey in this case, because I think that's a problem which many companies might face, and I think you as a working group should know which problems they face and what you could deal with.
Yeah.
We did some similar thing for the operator working group about 1 year ago, and I also agree with Robert. You don't have to rush and think over the things you are doing here. So we did it in a very short term. So our survey, we didn't get much feedback, and therefore you should have an idea what you want to know really and how long your survey should be. So we had a survey with about 10 to 15 questions. I think this was too much.
Yeah.
And you should also know how to promote this and how to get people answering this. Yeah. So what we could try is there is an end user newsletter of the CNCF. We could also try to get it in there when you want to send it out.
Yeah, that would help a lot, I think.
So just reach out to Jennifer or me when you are at that point.
Yeah.
And Chris also seems like he's adding something there.
I'm a contributor to Cube Weekly, if that's what you're referring to.
Very cool.
Yeah, so just let me know, and I'll.
So then you have the right people here. Everything's okay.
See, everybody's here.
Is that Chris? I don't know. I can just go to Chris whenever I want to spam propaganda. That's good to know.
Yeah, let me know.
That's perfect. But cool work. Thank you.
Are there anything that we should, is there anything more that we should talk about when it comes to this survey? Because obviously, like I said, I don't think we need to rush this. I think we need to just continue to work on this document and see where this leads us. And I think we have a great starting point. I agree that if we want to have this like an annual thing, to map out the current trends and stuff like that, we should we should spend some time actually knowing what we're gonna ask people, because and obviously too long, that's no good, because no one has time for anything. And if they see like 15 questions, they're probably gonna go, oh, 15 questions, all right, nah, I don't want to do that. So we need to work a bit on condensing what we want into, I don't want to say a number, but like 5 to 10, let's say that, questions maybe.
I think the goal to keep the service short is the right one, but now when we want to get some feedback about these problems that we want to validate, I think we should start writing down these ideas or what problems we would like to validate, because probably there are more than 15 of these problems alone. So we need to pick our most probable candidates from the list, and we should start putting this list together. So if anyone has ideas, then I think this document is where to add this.
Rain, are you suggesting that, I mean, building up a list of scenarios makes sense, but are you suggesting that we should ask the users about specific scenarios, as opposed to, say, being a little more open-ended and letting them?
I think I would do both. I would ask about a few specific scenarios and leave an open-ended comment box.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could also ask in the survey if someone wants to give an interview or something equal to about this, and you could reach out to them if someone wants, because I think their insights would be very valuable.
And that is also a thing that we could do, but obviously if we can back that up also with data from the survey. So I think that we should at least like get the survey and the general idea, at least, of what we're trying to figure out. And at that point, we might just do some, talking to end users and stuff like that. But obviously that can come both from the survey and independently, just asking for people's opinions and stuff.
There is one problem. When you start asking for people's contact information, you get all kind of compliance requirements,
Yes.
and how you process the data, how you store their contact data or email addresses. So how we are, or actually what tools are going to be used to run the survey, how the data is going to be stored, who will have access to the data to do that analysis. Just mentioned these questions in one bullet point there. So this will be relevant.
What we can do is just open up for people to be on the CNCF Slack and reach out to us in particular. Well, hello, Chris.
Hey, I just dropped a link in chat that will get you what you need as far as like that data compliance and all the fun regulatory bits, because CNCF maintains a SurveyMonkey account. So trying to get this out there more in general is part of the reason why I'm here, because I know y'all were going to discuss survey. So yeah, there's actually like a process to get surveys out the door, and CNCF manage that for you.
Yeah, that's perfect. And using something like SurveyMonkey, and it makes it much better than creating Google Forms or Microsoft Forms or whatever.
Please do not send
other
out a
forms.
survey randomly, like use this process. It's much more robust.
Please send me a letter in my mailbox with your
Right.
information. Yeah, that works. But yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah, Josh.
Just thinking one other thing, we if somebody wants to come to this meeting and talk about an issue for 10 minutes, I mean, it's a little risky, but hopefully.
You can add that as like an optional field, I think.
I think we should be open to just if people have something that affects this working group in any way, that they can just come and say, yeah, I want to discuss this issue I have. And obviously, if you work with clients and stuff like that, you can just not mention who you're having this issue with, or not who you're having this issue, but which clients you're working on that and where you have this issue. Or and that's also for like end user interviews that could be totally anonymous. Even you just reach out to us and we'll then find a time where we can just sit down for like 30 minutes and talk about stuff. And the only thing that we document is like what kind of type of issues are you having, not who you are or anything like that. So then, that would be totally anonymous at that point. So, yeah. Trying to think if there's anything more. Oh, no more. All right. Patterns. Seems like everyone's talking about patterns. So Josh, you submitted a couple of patterns, but I have a I wanted to submit that as a discussion or an issue, all depending, but at the same time, I just kind of want to talk about it. So I was thinking of documenting a sort of like trying to find a name for it as well, like a Terraform all up, or everything on Terraform, or whatever you want to call it. So, doing the entire process with one tool. And I think that for that to make sense as a thing that you do, there's a lot of code involved. So I kind of need to show how you would do that in a more dynamic way, not just like creating a bunch of static files. So do we go to that length where we have example code, or do we just want to write like an article on how to do these things, or like how do we deal with such patterns? Is my really bad question, I guess.
I kind of think there are two questions there. Let me just think. You're talking about what would the pattern, what are we kind of anticipating in the current patterns? And then you're kind of saying, what about a different kind of pattern? Like, so to answer your question directly, I was anticipating with the proposal I gave that everything would be backed by runnable code. But I hear what you're basically bringing up is like, hey, what if it's just a doc? How does that fit in?
Yeah, because at one point we would start producing a lot of things. It can get pretty big. If the things that I think of when it comes to the like a Terraform for everything, to get that to a point where it's actually a good pattern, I would actually need to just have a big deployment scenario set up. That can be pretty involved. Is that okay for certain things, or no?
Well, the goal is to gradually get to a point where the framework provides everything but your code, your change. In other words, like let's say it's Potato Head and it needs a database and an identity provider. And so, we do a demo, let's say it was Terraform, there would be a base implementation in Potato. I guess it's a little tricky. Like right now, the base might be like kind to get a Kubernetes cluster and a script. That's pretty raw. And then maybe your Terraform would say replace the database with this, or maybe you say replace the wholesale thing with this. But yeah, it's a pretty, so the answer to your question is that Potato is meant to gradually evolve into more and more of a framework that gives you that stuff. But if you're replacing chunks of it, then yeah, if you're going to replace like 4 parts of the infrastructure, then that would be pretty big code. I agree. On the other hand, like I feel like end users most benefit from stuff that's runnable. We can keep it up to date longer. It's testable. It's objective. So like nobody can say, well, your tutorial, you know, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Maybe what we could do, maybe we could start from a doc. Like it doesn't have to be finished. In other words, let's say I would suggest in your case is that you would start with a proposal. You'd open a proposal in the repo and say, hey, I want to show how to use Terraform to deploy 5 different parts of the infrastructure for a Potato Head-like app. You know, we discuss it there. Maybe you write the doc first, and I could help you. Others could chime in and say, okay, I'll help you write the implementation, or, you know, you've got snippets in there and you're able to show some of it, but you weren't able to put together all of the error checking or something. But, you know, maybe we could advance it that way. Like you could do the doc first, but then we get the code before we finalize.
Yeah, so I think the kind of gist of what I'm thinking is that there is some of these might get really complex. And for me to show off a solution using Terraform for everything, so meaning you're setting up your infrastructure and you're able to add applications in a certain like iterative, so you don't need to define everything every time you do that. So there's going to be a lot of input variables, creating lists, doing loops based on that, do checking for putting it into the right, etc., etc. So it's going to be pretty complex. That's basically what I work with. That's exactly what I'm saying right now. So I know for a fact that you can do that, and but it's a relatively big thing, and I don't want to start off just creating this giant example and then it's out of scope for what we're trying to do with patterns. I think that's kind of where I'm getting at. But if people agree that, you know, for instance, like Terraform for everything, or all on board the Terraform train, or whatever you want to call that pattern, if that's useful for people to show off a real example of how you would do that, then I would be happy to do it. It's going to get pretty big pretty quickly. And I'm not totally sure if it's actually going to fit into the structure of the tag app delivery repo with, you know, there's going to be a lot of things there, you know. Maybe that just completely, you know, directly into the Potato Head. Use that as an example. Set that up there in that repository. So I guess it's kind of open-ended question. I don't expect to get like, this is what you're supposed to do, but I think I'm going to add a discussion on and try to get in the points that I want to get across, like why you can do that with Terraform, and then see if people agree or disagree, or if they want to see something over something else. So this as a start, I guess. You, Josh, added a couple of patterns, right?
I added 2 things actually. So just one pattern, but the first one is a meta pattern, a pattern for patterns. And that's kind of what I'm referring to now. That one is a proposal like, hey, if Robert wants to start Terraform for everything, how do we get a little feedback? How does he, you know, verify that we agree, or you know, how do we even give you input? Like, hey, could you do a database first? Because I need that for mine. So yeah, so that's what that first one is kind of about. It's just rough. It's just to say, oh, this is our process. And then the second one is just to have one as an example of, oh, here's the process, here's how it would look. So I put up a proposal of something that I've encountered, not with Red Hat, but when I was at a customer before, was deploying databases and synchronizing credentials. So I know that was a problem for a customer, at least one. So I put that up there, and the goal is kind of what you were just saying, Robert, I haven't even started working on it. It's just to say, hey, I'm thinking about this. Is anyone else thinking about this? You know,
Yeah.
what are the things people are trying? And so far it's all crickets, but you know, gotta start somewhere.
Usually it's like I said, people are busy. I just keep using that as a thing, but people are. But I think if we first look at the patterns for pattern, that makes it hard for me as a Norwegian. But if we can like start there, I think just getting how do we show off the code, and like where do we put it in a way that can get translated to any of the, no matter what we're going to use. I think that's at least, like I said, a good start. Everything's a good start. But for the way that the different examples for potato head have been added, that's on the delivery folder in the potato head repository, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't totally thought through how new patterns will actually fit in there, like the doc, if that's what you're calling out. Like if I do that database pattern, and yeah, I'll implement it in Potato Head, but then I'll write a walkthrough, and maybe that would go in the app delivery repo. I think that's what we started discussing last time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can have that as like a guiding thing. You go into the tag app delivery, the corporate delivery, work group, the patterns. Then you have a markdown file just explaining how everything's where everything's at. Then perhaps we could have, I guess, under the delivery folder in the Potato Head one, where everything else is.
Well, no, I was actually thinking, I was actually thinking those and future ones maybe should move into CNCF, tag app delivery / cooperative delivery, or whatever, wherever they belong.
Yeah. I guess that's something we need to, I guess, discuss on a higher level, and because some of these aren't cooperative delivery in itself, and then some will be. So is the idea of patterns? I know the GitOps working group is doing a lot of pattern stuff, but that's under the Open GitOps project. So that kind of lands in its own repository. Do we move patterns out of working groups and into like the root structure, and then depending on the working group working on patterns, you can put them there?
So I think in the first step, it would be the best way to move the patterns themselves to the tag app delivery repo.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
let's see where this leads to. So I think currently we're not in the state that we could open up a project as Open GitOps or whatever. But it might be a way in the future. So let's see what we get.
Would it be overkill if I'm thinking that there's a patterns folder in the tag app delivery where you have like the documentation and step through things, and then it would actually reference code that would be, because you're using Potato Head, it will reference code in the Potato Head organization, and then you would have its own repository for that pattern.
So you think that it would make sense to describe the pattern in the tag app delivery repository, and to build an example for exactly this pattern in a
Yes.
repository of the Potato Head organization.
Yes, because using the Potato Head application.
I'm not sure if this might be an overkill. So I like the idea of having a collection of patterns in the app delivery repository. And we should try to find an easy way to describe the pattern in the Potato Head itself. So I'm not sure if it has to be an own repository for that. It might also be that a folder is enough for each pattern. But yes, it would be totally okay for me, I think.
I like over engineering stuff, so
I think you can discuss this in the working group in the Slack and whatever, and we could discuss this in one of the next tech meetings.
So just to be completely.
But from my side, it would totally make sense to have it this way.
Yeah. So just to be totally clear, what why I'm saying this is because people will come into the tag app delivery repository and find the patterns list. There they would read about the patterns and why it's a good way to do whatever you want to try to describe with a pattern, because it might be from cooperative delivery, it might not be. And then the example code then would get built in its own repository, just so you don't mix stuff, you don't do anything cross-contaminate or whatever. And if you want to do stuff like GitHub Actions to do things and show that off or anything like that, you could do that without potentially breaking other people's stuff. So that just feels like a really clean way of doing it for me.
So I think as long as these are examples only for deploying the Potato Head itself, so then they would be, then it would make sense that you have them in the delivery folder of the Potato Head, because these things should be part of that. But if you have some very special examples of patterns or whatever, then we could create an examples repository or whatever for the Potato Head and move it in there.
Yeah. All right.
Those are pretty good ideas. Maybe we could. I'll put a note in the number 167, or if you all, Robert, if you want to. I really like the way you described that. I think there were a couple gray points, but overall, I like those ideas. I do want to give one other update on that. So I did talk briefly with Scott Rigby from the GitOps group, and a little bit with the observability group. The observability group, I just chimed in on their Slack because I noticed that they're also trying to build a library of patterns, and I was like, well, they even mentioned Potato Head, but they mentioned a couple other ones too. So I wanted to encourage them to use that. And we were going to talk last week, but it didn't work out. So I have to see what's going on. But it seems like the kind of interest is there. And then on the Open GitOps, one thing that we kind of realized is that they've got a lot of the governance in place, but they don't really have many like actual tutorials and patterns yet. So there might be some synergy there. Like, hey, can we utilize your, Chrome, your framework, and start putting in this content? The delivery stuff there's plenty of GitOps related stuff there already. So those are two updates.
A lot of the Open GitOps and pattern discussions, I've been a part of that, and the reason why it kind of works there is because you have the Open GitOps organization where you can have its own repository for these things, so it kind of makes it a little bit more cleaner. While we're kind of like in a subfolder of a subfolder of a subfolder, and at that point, if we're then going to start adding like 60 Terraform files, and it's going to get really complicated really quickly to figure out where everything is. So that's why I'm, the deployment or the pattern, the Terraform pattern that I'm thinking of will get pretty big. So, having that in the middle of everything else could be a little bit messy. And at that point, having its own, repository for that just makes sense. But others might be really small on the other hand. So yeah.
So I think we can take this discussion to the tag. And I think I get your point.
Yep.
And we should discuss how to deal with such examples. So we have a similar thing for, let's say, Captain, which also needs an own Git repository.
Yeah.
And I think this would make sense to discuss this in more detail.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about that some more in the tag meeting, rather than doing it here, because it kind of affects everyone at this point. All right. I guess that's the agenda. Everything is moving well. I don't want to say slowly, but we're getting there. I think the work that's been done on the server draft document is really good, and I think we're all kind of landing some of the ideas that we have a little bit more, like getting a more yeah, we're starting to be able to actually word what we're trying to do, which is good, because at the start it was really hard. Everyone had I think everyone had the same thought but couldn't actually express it in a way that made sense. So we're at least getting there.
As I tell my son, it's about the next step. It's just about taking the next step. I don't care if you take a big step or a little step or anything, just take the next little step.
Yeah.
So we're making steps bit by bit.
We're just doing a lot of small steps really quickly, and all of a sudden we're running.
Yeah, right.
So starting a working group is always hard.
Yeah.
But I think you're making good progress, and it looks funny what you're doing.
I think this will be really good. We just need to start to get the ball rolling, and like any big avalanche, you start in the small little snowballs, and then all of a sudden it's big snowballs, and all of a sudden the entire mountain comes down. So we just need to get started, and then everything will work by itself, apparently. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It's good to see more than the few people I've been, and I guess we'll reconvene in 2 weeks, but next week for tag app delivery as well.
Well, we've got I was gonna mention that 2 weeks is the 22nd.
Right.
Kind of in. Maybe we should just cancel it, or should we? What do you all think? I mean, I think I'll keep it on. I guess we don't need to cancel it, but I don't know.
I keep on saying yes to things, and apparently that's wrong, because then I get overworked. So I'll say that the logical thing here is that this 22nd is awfully close to Christmas, and
Exactly.
people probably have taken time off and everything like that. So at that point, so maybe not have it the 22nd, and then rather, what is it, the 5th? Yeah, 5th of January being the next one.
Well, that will be it. No, it'll be the 12th, because the 5th would be the all-up tag. So it would be a month.
I have a suggestion. You could perhaps just have any updates or anything like async on the channel, and then people who want to get away from their families and do some work, they could optionally talk on Slack, and then just make it to async.
Yeah, we could just hang out. Just
sorry, I've been.
So let's say we'll check in that day. We can check in that day in Slack, and then let's kind of tend towards just asynchronous check-in. But I'll be around, and if we really want, we could hop on.
Yeah, let's just keep it open then, I guess. Yeah,
sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks all. We'll see each other soon-ish then.
All right. Good luck with the presentation tomorrow, Thomas.
Yeah. Hope you practiced.
It's
All
really
right.
good. I watched it recently, and yeah, I like it a lot.
We have to say that because a lot of people here are in it, so it's it's nice of you to lie.
Especially, I was so like I jumped when I saw like Thomas jumping back, and I was like, "What is that?" With the
Right?
chaos
That's pretty
thing. Caught me by surprise. I was laughing. Yeah.
Nice.
Hope that works out for all the Chinese people that they get a kick out of it, and it's good. It's good. It's global. Global is good.
Mm.
All right.
Yes, it was also cool because the talk was really global. So
Yeah.
we were in many different time zones.
Many different time zones, many different accents, many different everything. It's good.
This was pretty cool, pretty nice. Yes.
Should have done it on native languages, everyone, and then just have
Right.
subtitles. That would be cool. I think. Maybe. All right. I have to go eat dinner now. All right. Cheers all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.